Hi, this is Bruce Larkin, the owner of Wilbooks. Wilbooks gives your child an educational advantage. Hi, boys and girls. This is Bruce the Jackalope Man Larkin, and I'm going to be reading to you one of my books, and it is a kind of a book called A Tall Tale. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Pecos Bill tries to catch a Flaggerdoot. Have you ever heard of Pecos Bill? If you say you haven't, I might think you're shucking me. Pecos Bill was as famous as a fella can be. Most everybody has a yarn about Pecos Bill. This here tale is one you might have never heard before, but it's worth a listen. There have always been a mess of stories told about Pecos Bill and his wild woolly adventures. Many people suspect that some of those stories actually include a touch of imagination or exaggeration. In other words, their veracity is sometimes questioned. This here story couldn't be any truer if it were told by a traveling preacher with a brand new Bible. It's as true as rain is wet, but it reads like one of them there fiction stories. It involves Pecos Bill trying to catch a Flaggerdoot, which everyone knows is a group of jackalopes. There's been a lot of speculation by the kind of folks that are inclined to speculate about Pecos Bill's early years. It's known that he had a very unusual childhood. Just like the tree leans towards the branch which follows the twig, all of us are affected by the experiences we have as youngins. Pecos Bill was no exception. In case you don't know it, he was not brought up by humans. This cowboy adventurer, who would go on to become much more famous than all the other people, a lot less famous than himself, was raised by coyotes. Coyotes are critters which are generally considered to be quite clever. All kinds of animal parents pass on to their youngins a lot of knowledge about how the world works. The coyotes we're talking about, being on the upper end of the smart animal scale, had a lot of good information for young Pecos Bill. He sucked up their coyote knowledge like a javelina sucks the juice from prickly pear cactus fruit. Any human or animal growing up in the vicinity that Pecos Bill's coyote clan called home would naturally be interested in the most amazing animal in the world, the jackalope. As sure as butter melts on a flapjack, Pecos Bill had to have been taught by the coyotes who raised him that no one has ever been able to catch a single jackalope, much less an entire Flaggerdoot. Pecos Bill, being Pecos Bill, didn't let that stop him. He had seen a Flaggerdoot streaking across the Sonoran Desert in southern Arizona one hot summer day and decided to try to catch it. The Flaggerdoot in question was heading west towards the setting sun, so Pecos Bill headed due north with a plan in mind. He gathered every shovel and pickaxe in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, and California. He ended up wearing out every single one of those shovels and picks, digging a deep trench to catch the jackalopes he was hoping to trap. Pecos Bill stirred up so much reddish dust while digging his gigantic zigzag trench that his eyes were red for several months after he was done. He spent a lot of time explaining to anyone who asked that he did not have a really bad case of pink eye. That big old hole in the ground later became known to most people as the Grand Canyon, but at the time, folks referred to it as Pecos Bill's jackalope trapping pit. Pecos Bill then built himself a big old cozy wicker basket in which he had 4,000 great horned owls fly him, under cover of darkness, to Southern California. Bill figured the Flaggerdoot he was after would be hanging out in the Mojave Desert by then. As the sun rose in the east, Pecos Bill strutted up to the Flaggerdoot with a challenge. He told the assembled Jack-Yaks and Jenkas that he would race the entire Flaggerdoot to the town of Flagstaff, Arizona, and then due north to Old Faithful in the Yellowstone region of Wyoming. The winner would get 13 wagons full of freshly made peanut butter and pickle sandwiches, the world's largest pile of popcorn, and some gumdrops thrown in for good measure. The jackalopes readily agreed. They was giggling and salivating to beat the band. Pecos Bill, being Pecos Bill, started to explain to the assembled jackalopes what a rip-roaring, rootin'-tootin', cactus-chewing, lightning-lassoing, tornado-taming cowboy he was, and how fast he could run. He then commenced to bragging about his many prior exploits. There ain't been a fellow born who could outbrag Pecos Bill. The jackalopes politely struggled to hold in their giggles. They finally got tired of his hot air and just lined up at the starting line. Every jack-yak and jenka had a twinkle in his or her eye. The race started with a large cloud of dust as all the jack-yaks and jenkas set off at top speed towards Flagstaff, Arizona. It only took them a few hours to cover the several hundred miles to Flagstaff before they turned north with Pecos Bill in hot pursuit. The jackalopes arrived at Pecos Bill's jackalope trapping pit and easily jumped over it as they streaked north towards the Old Faithful geyser. When Pecos Bill arrived at the place where he was certain he was going to catch the entire Flaggerdoot, he was told by a California condor that the jackalopes had gotten to the other side as easily as a second grader wearing heavy boots hops over a small puddle. Pecos Bill, being an intelligent and honorable hombre, realized that this was one time his bragging had exceeded his ability. He quietly set about making 13 wagon loads of peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. He dutifully popped all the popcorn in 13 railroad cars full of popcorn. He then purchased every gumdrop west of the Mississippi, which ended up filling 13 grain silos. Pecos Bill had the feast he promised to the winners laid out by the time the jackalopes returned from the Yellowstone region about 6 hours later. The jackalopes were so impressed by Pecos Bill's efforts in digging the Grand Canyon that they declared him to be the jackalopiest man in the world. They decided amongst themselves to do something so the world would never forget how Pecos Bill formed the Grand Canyon. Now you know how the Grand Canyon was formed and why every 13th jackalope has red eyes.
It's Bruce the Jackalope Man Larkin. Thanks for watching this video today. We have a lot more videos, so go ahead and check them out. If you want to keep up to date on new videos, subscribe to our channel. If you want to read some free books online, go to the Wilbooks.com website. And if you'd like to enjoy a small bowl of bridge mix, have at it. See you later.